Pain doesn't knock on your door politely. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It shows up uninvited, sits in your life, and starts rearranging everything you thought you understood. And most people, the moment they feel it, they run. They escape into distractions, into excuses, into anything that numbs the discomfort. But what if I told you that the very thing you're trying to avoid is the thing that's trying to build you? You see, pain has a purpose. It always has. It's not random, and it's not there just to hurt you. It's there to teach you something you couldn't learn any other way. Because comfort will never push you to your limits. Comfort will never reveal your strength. Comfort will keep you exactly where you are. And if you stay there long enough, you start to believe that average is enough, that settling is safe, that playing small is okay. But pain won't let you stay there. Pain forces you to look at yourself. It forces you to confront your weaknesses, your habits, your mindset. It strips away the illusions and shows you the truth. And the truth isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's hard to accept. Sometimes it shakes you to your core. But that's where growth begins, right at the point where things stop feeling comfortable and start getting real. Think about the moments that changed you. Not the easy days, not the victories, not the times when everything went your way. No, I'm talking about the nights you couldn't sleep, the days you felt like quitting, the times when life hit you so hard, you didn't know how to respond. Those moments didn't just pass through you, they shaped you. They built something inside you: strength, awareness, resilience. And here's the thing, pain doesn't speak loudly all the time. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up as frustration, as disappointment, as that feeling deep inside that something isn't right. And if you ignore it, if you keep pushing it away, it gets louder. It turns into something bigger, something harder to ignore, not because it wants to break you, but because it needs your attention, because there's a lesson there always. Maybe it's teaching you to be patient. Maybe it's showing you that you have been settling for less than you deserve. Maybe it's pushing you to let go of something or someone that's been holding you back. Or maybe it's simply building your endurance, preparing you for something greater that requires a stronger version of you. But you won't see any of that if all you do is try to escape it. You've got to sit with it. You've got to face it. You've got to ask yourself, what is this trying to show me? Not why me, but what now? Because the moment you shift that question, everything changes. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming a student of your experiences. And understand this clearly. Pain is temporary, but what it teaches you can last forever. The strength you build through it, the clarity you gain, the mindset you develop, that stays with you. That becomes part of who you are. And one day you'll look back at the very thing you once prayed to escape, and you'll realize it was the turning point. It was the moment that forced you to grow up, to level up, to step into a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. And without it, you would have stayed the same. Comfortable, maybe, but limited. So don't curse the struggle. Don't run from the discomfort. Embrace it. Learn from it. Let it shake you instead of breaking you. Because every challenge you face is giving you something if you're willing to receive it. And right now, wherever you are in your life, whatever you're going through, I want you to think about it differently. Don't see it as something that's happening to you. See it as something that's happening for you, something that's building you piece by piece into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared. Because the truth is, the greatest version of you is not created in comfort, it's forged in struggle. And every ounce of pain you endure, every obstacle you overcome, every moment you refuse to give up, it's all adding up to something powerful. You keep telling yourself, I'll start when the time is right. When things calm down, when you feel more confident, when you have more money, more clarity, more certainty, you keep pushing the beginning of your life further and further into the future, as if one day everything is going to line up perfectly and give you permission to move. But let me be real with you. There is no perfect moment waiting for you. There never was. Life doesn't work like that. It never has. There will always be something missing, something uncertain, something uncomfortable. That's not a sign to wait. That's the sign to move. Because if you're waiting for perfect conditions, you're choosing to stay exactly where you are, and staying still for too long starts to feel like safety, but it's actually a slow destruction. It's potential fading away quietly. You don't need everything figured out to take the first step. You just need the courage to move without guarantees. That's what separates people who change their lives from people who spend years thinking about it. One group waits for clarity, the other creates it through action. Understand this clarity doesn't come before action. Clarity comes because of action. You start messy, you start unsure, you start with doubt sitting right next to you, but you move anyway. And with every step, something shifts. You learn something new, you adjust, you grow. And slowly, that confusion you were afraid of begins to turn into direction. But if you never start, you never learn. And time doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It keeps moving. Days turn into weeks into years. And one day you look back not at the risks you took, but at the chances you didn't, the moves you delayed, the dreams you kept on hold because you were waiting for a moment that was never coming. Let that sink in, because the truth is you don't become ready. You become ready by starting. You build confidence by doing the thing you're afraid to do. You build strength by stepping into situations that challenge you. You build experience by taking action, failing, learning, and trying again. That's the process. There is no shortcut around it. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to question yourself. You're going to feel like you don't belong, like you're not good enough yet. But that's part of it. That's the price of growth. If it felt easy, it wouldn't change you. You've got to stop negotiating with your fears. Stop giving them a voice in your decisions, because fear will always find a reason for you to wait. It will always tell you, not now, not yet, maybe later. And if you listen to that voice long enough, later turns into never. You don't need permission to start. You don't need validation from the world. You don't need to have everything lined up. What you need is a decision, a firm, undeniable decision that says, I'm done waiting. Because once you decide, everything changes. You stop looking for the right time and you start creating it. You stop overthinking and you start executing. You stop doubting and you start discovering what you're actually capable of. And let me tell you something, you are capable of more than you've allowed yourself to believe. But you'll never see it if you stay where it's safe. You've got something inside you that's been waiting for you to move. An idea, a goal, a vision, something that keeps coming back to your mind no matter how many times you push it away. That's not random. That's not coincidence. That's your calling knocking. And every time you ignore it, you're training yourself to settle, but that's not who you are. You weren't built to sit on potential. You weren't built to live a life of what if. You were built to take risks, to step forward, to grow through action. And yes, you might fail. You might stumble. You might then feel like you made the wrong move at times. But even that is better than standing still, because failure teaches, waiting doesn't. So wherever you are right now, whatever you've been putting off, whatever you've been telling yourself you'll do someday, this is your moment. Not perfect, not ideal, not guaranteed, but real. And real is all you need. Let's get something straight right now. If you keep waiting to feel like doing the work you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. Feelings are unreliable. They change with the weather, with your mood, with how much sleep you got last night. One day you wake up energized, ready to take on the world. The next day, you can't even find the motivation to get started. And if your life is built on that kind of foundation, it's going to collapse the moment things get uncomfortable. That's why discipline matters more than emotion, because discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care if you're tired, distracted, or not in the mood. Discipline is a decision you made when you were clear-headed, and it shows up for you when your emotions try to talk you out of it. Think about it. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't closed by motivation. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. It's a spark, not the fuel. Discipline, that's the engine. That's what keeps you moving when everything inside you is telling you to stop. And here's the truth most people avoid. Success is built on the days you don't feel like showing up. It's built in those quiet moments when nobody's watching, when there's no applause, no recognition, no reward, just you and the choice to keep going. That's where the real work happens. That's where you separate yourself from the version of you that quits when it gets hard. Because it will get hard. There will be mornings where your body feels AV, where your mind is clouded with doubt, where excuses sound more convincing than your goals. I'll do it tomorrow. I need a break. One day won't matter. That voice will be there every single time you're about to do something that requires effort. And if you listen to it, you lose. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly. You start breaking promises to yourself. You start lowering your standards, and before you know it, the person you said you wanted to become starts fading away. But discipline protects you from that. Discipline says, I don't care how I feel. I said I was going to do this, so I'm doing it. It turns your actions into habits and your habits into your identity. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just move. And once you reach that point, something powerful happens. You stop relying on external motivation. You stop waiting for inspiration. You become consistent. And consistency is what builds greatness. Not talent, not luck, not burst of energy. It's the ability to show up again and again, even when it's boring, even when it's difficult, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because something is changing. You just can't see it yet. Every time you push through resistance, you're strengthening your mind. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're reinforcing the kind of person you're becoming. You're building trust with yourself. And that trust, that's everything. Because once you trust yourself to follow through, nothing can stop you. You don't hesitate. You don't overthink. You don't second guess every move. You act. And that action compounds over time, turning small efforts into massive results. But it all starts with one simple shift. Stop asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? And start telling yourself, this is what I do. That's the difference. Winners don't wake up. Every day excited to work. They wake up committed. They've trained their minds to understand that how they feel is irrelevant compared to what they've decided. And you can do the same. Right now in your life, there's something you've been avoiding, something you know you should be doing, but you keep putting it off because you're not in the mood. That's your moment. That's your test. That's where discipline is built. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right there, you don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to do it. Take the step. Show up. Even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's the last thing you want to do. Because every time you choose discipline, you're telling yourself, I'm in control. Not my emotions, not my circumstances. Me and that kind of control, that kind of power, it changes everything. Failure has a way of hitting you right where it hurts. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't soften the blow. It just shows up, and suddenly everything you believed about yourself gets questioned. You start wondering if you're good enough, if you made the wrong move, if maybe this just isn't meant for you. And in that moment, most people make a decision without even realizing it. They label failure as the end, but that's not what it is. Failure is feedback. Raw, unfiltered, sometimes painful feedback, but feedback nonetheless. It's life showing you what didn't work, where you misstepped, where you need to grow, and if you're willing to listen, really listen, it becomes one of the most powerful tools you will ever have. But if you take it personally, if you let it define your identity instead of informing your direction, it will stop you in your tracks. You see, failure is not saying you are not enough. It's saying this approach wasn't enough. And those are two completely different things. One attacks who you are, the other guides what? The guides what? At you do next. But too many people confuse the two. They experience one setback, one rejection, one loss, and suddenly they start rewriting their entire story. I'm not capable. I'm not talented. I don't have what it takes. And just like that, they shut the door on their own potential, not because they failed, but because they misunderstood what failure was trying to tell them. Let me ask you something. How do you expect to succeed at something you've never failed at? Think about it. Every skill you've ever learned, every improvement you have ever made came from getting something wrong first. You adjusted, you corrected, you tried again. That's the process. That's how growth works. But somewhere along the way, we start fearing failure like it's something to avoid at all costs, when in reality, it's something to use. Because every failure carries information. It tells you where your preparation was lacking. It shows you where your mindset needs strengthening. It reveals gaps you didn't even know existed, and that's valuable. That's how you get better, but only if you're willing to take a step back and analyze it instead of running from it. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That shift alone can change everything. It puts you back in control. It turns you from a victim of circumstance into a student of experience. And understand this, failure is not a sign to stop. It's a signal to adjust. Maybe you need a different strategy. Maybe you need more patience. Maybe you need to push harder or think smarter. But quitting guarantees that failure becomes permanent. And you're not here for that. You're here to grow. You're here to evolve. You're here to become someone stronger than you were yesterday. And that kind of transformation doesn't happen without friction. It doesn't happen without setbacks. It doesn't happen without moments that test your belief in yourself, because that's what failure really tests, your belief. Do you believe in your ability to figure it out? Do you believe that you can improve, adapt, and rise again? Or do you believe that one moment defines your entire future? Because it doesn't. One failure does not erase your potential. One loss does not cancel your purpose. One mistake does not define your worth. It's just a moment that you can either learn from or be limited by. And the people who go far in life, they don't avoid failure. They embrace it. They expect it. They understand that every time they fall, they're getting closer to figuring it out. They don't take it personally. They take it seriously. They study it. They break it down. They come back stronger. That's the difference. So the next time you face failure, and you will, don't let it shake your identity. Let it sharpen your awareness. Don't let it close doors. Let it redirect your path. Don't let it stop you. Let it teach you. You've been underestimating yourself for far too long, not because you lack ability, not because you don't have what it takes, but because somewhere along the way, life convinced you to doubt your own strength. Maybe it was the setbacks. Maybe it was the voices around you. Maybe it was the times you gave everything and still came up short. And slowly, without even realizing it, you started shrinking your belief to match your fear. But let's set the record straight. You are stronger than you think, not in some surface level motivational way, but in a real, tested, proven way, because strength isn't measured by what you say you can handle. It's measured by what you've already survived. And if you take a moment, just a moment to look back at your life, you'll see it clearly. There were days you thought would break you, but didn't. Moments you felt completely lost, but you found your way through. Times when everything in you wanted to quit, but somehow you kept going. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was you. And the fact that you're still here, still standing, still searching for more, that's proof. Proof that there's something inside you that refuses to give up, even when things get heavy, even when the weight feels unbearable. There's a part of you that keeps pushing forward step by step, breath by breath. But here's the problem. You've been treating that strength like it's temporary, like it only shows up in emergencies, like it's something you can't rely on unless things get bad enough. No, that strength is always there. You just haven't been using it on purpose. You wait until life forces it out of you instead of choosing to step into it daily. You wait for the breaking point before you realize how much you can handle. But imagine what happens when you stop waiting. Imagine what happens when you decide right now to operate from that place of strength, not just when you're tested, but every single day. Because strength is not just about surviving. Because strength is not just about surviving. It's about deciding who you're going to be when things aren't falling apart. It's about waking up and saying, I don't need life to be easy for me to be focused. I don't need perfect conditions for me to give my best. I don't need everything to go my way for me to keep moving forward. That's real strength. And the moment you start thinking like that, something shifts. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and you start seeing them as opportunities to prove to yourself who you really are. You stop asking, can I handle this? And you start saying, let's find out. Because deep down, you already know the answer. You can handle more pressure than you think. You can push further than you believe. You can rise higher than you've allowed yourself to imagine. But it requires a decision to stop playing small, a decision to stop letting doubt take the lead, a decision to trust yourself even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain. And listen, strength doesn't mean you won't feel tired. It doesn't mean you won't have moments of doubt or fear. You will. That's part of being human. But strength is what you do in those moments. Do you give in or do you rise anyway? Because every time you rise, you reinforce something powerful inside you. You remind yourself that you are capable, that you are resilient, that you are not defined by your circumstances, but by your response to them. And that kind of mindset, that kind of belief, it changes everything. It changes how you approach challenges. It changes how you see yourself. It changes how far you're willing to go. Because once you truly understand your strength, you stop negotiating with your limits. You stop saying, this is too hard. You stop saying, I can't do this. And you start saying, this is tough, but I'm tougher. That's where growth lives. Not in comfort, not in ease, but in the moments where you choose to rise above what you feel and step into what you're capable of. And you've got more in you than you've shown the world. More discipline, more courage, more resilience. It's all there, waiting for you to tap into it. Not someday, not when things get worse, but right now. So the next time life tests you, and I don't want you to question your strength. I want you to remember it. I want you to stand firm in it. I want you to move forward with it. The real fight you're facing right now, it's not out there. It's not your circumstances, not the P. You pull around you, not even the obstacles in your path. The real fight is happening in a place nobody else can see. It's happening in your mind. That's where the battle is won or lost. Because before anything happens in your life, it happens in your thinking. Every decision, every action, every risk you take or avoid, it all starts with a thought. And if your thoughts are working against you, then it doesn't matter how many opportunities come your way, you'll find a way to sabotage them. You've felt it before, that voice that creeps in when you're about to step up, the one that says, you're not ready, you're not good enough. What if you fail? It sounds real. It feels real. But let me tell you something, it's not truth. It's conditioning. It's fear dressed up like logic. And if you don't challenge it, if you don't take control of it, it will control you. And here's the dangerous part. It doesn't shout, it whispers, it shows up as hesitation, as overthinking, as doubt that slows you down just enough to keep you stuck. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it gets. The more power you give it, the more it shapes your reality. But the moment you recognize it for what it is, everything changes because now you have a choice. You can let that voice run your life or you can take your power back. And taking your power back doesn't mean the voice disappears. It means you stop obeying it. It means you hear the doubt and move anyway. You feel the fear and act anyway. You acknowledge the uncertainty and step forward anyway. That's mental strength. It's not about having a perfect mindset. It's about having control over your response because your mind will test you. It will bring up your past failures. It will remind you of every time things didn't go your way. It will try to convince you to stay safe, to stay small, to stay where it's comfortable. But see, comfort is where growth dies. If you want to become something more, you've got to start training your mind like it matters, because it does. You've got to be intentional about what you allow in and what you shut down. You've got to stop feeding negativity and start building belief. And belief isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. You create it by keeping promises to yourself, by showing up when it's hard, by proving through your actions that you are capable. Every time you follow through, you send a message to your mind, I can trust myself. And that trust, that's what quiets the noise. That's what gives you the confidence to keep going, even when things feel uncertain. But you've got to be disciplined with your thoughts because your mind is like a battlefield. If you don't take control, something else will. Doubt will take over. Fear will take over. Excuses will take over. Excuses will take over. Excuses will take over. And before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle of thinking instead of doing. You don't need more thoughts. You need more action because action breaks fear. Action builds momentum. Action proves to your mind that the limits it's trying to place on you aren't real. And listen closely. Your mind will always try to protect you from discomfort. That's its job, but growth lives in discomfort. So if you let your mind keep you safe, it will also keep you stuck. You've got to retrain it. You've got to start seeing discomfort as a signal, not to stop, but to move forward. You've got to start interpreting fear not as danger, but as direction. Because most of the time, the things you're afraid of are the very things that will move your life forward. But you'll never find that out if you keep listening to the voice that tells you to hold back. So here's what it comes down to. Who's in control? Is it your fear? Is it your doubt? Or is it you? Because the moment you decide to take control of your mind, you take control of your life, you stop reacting and you start leading. You stop hesitating and you start executing. You stop doubting and you start becoming. And that's where everything shifts. So the next time that voice shows up, and I don't want you to run from it. I want you to face it. I want you to recognize it. And then I want you to move forward anyway, because your mind may be the battlefield, but you get to decide who wins. So tell me, are you going to keep listening to the voice that holds you back? Or are you finally ready to take command of your own mind?